I am formally announcing that I am approving the name change. The name of the Johannesburg International Airport will be changed to OR Tambo International Airport.
Mark my words, it will change again. Because unlike what you think, you will not govern forever in this country. Your time will come.
The ANC, however, is increasingly acting like it alone runs this country, and it alone has a legitimate history.
The process of Africanization should be pursued with determination in line with the African Renaissance, and this should culminate in South Africa being named Azania.
Since the first democratic elections in South Africa, the process of name changing has sparked much emotional and robust debate. Such high emotions are expected as the process of name changing challenges the fundamental foundations of people's cultural beliefs and historical heritage. Through the National Place Names Committee, South Africa has been changing names ever since 1939. After 1994, due to its unrepresentative nature and mandate, this committee was renamed as the South African Geographical Names Council. The council was tasked with the democratic standardization of geographical names in the country. 57,000 names are currently under review.
Asiziboni thina bantu bantsundu sinokwenza umfo ofana noGraham simenze ihero yethu umuntu wayebulele oba umkhulu.
So what a change my now to baba blacks ke apartheid engwe ye re tla yang ka mogwa Sesotho ke tsebo re tla re ke nga sala apartheid ke gatelelo.
Clearly, if names are felt to be offensive, they should be changed. But a name that is changed should add value and substance to a shared heritage. We don't feel that one should enter into name changing just merely for the sake of it.
In many instances, the names that were imposed without consulting anyone by colonial authorities or apartheid governments were placed on top of existing names. And many times African people never adopted the colonial name. They always used the original name. If you take, for example, a river which is referred to as the Kaiskama in all the geography books, right? The name is Esi, which is a Khoi name. People in the Eastern Cape don't refer to the Kaiskama, but Litlesi. So it's not even a question of renaming, right? It's just excavating the original African name in many instances that has been buried.
Despite OR Tambo being regarded by many as a statesman of great stature, the decision to rename Joburg International after him continues to fuel much controversy amongst South Africans.
There's a certain history that goes with names of towns and of places. And I find it strange that every now and then a new government comes into power and then suddenly finds this urge to change names and change places and whatever. Obviously there's a good point to be made out in terms of names that may be offensive or whatever. Obviously nobody would disagree with that. But just the latest point, in fact, this change or the proposed change of the Johannesburg International Airport doesn't make sense. And I've said in my statement basically that it's a very opportunistic move from the department. And we think it's absolutely wrong.
Although Oliver Tambo was a freedom fighter, that's what they call it. One man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist. So I object to having an ex-terrorist being named, airport named after him.
But is that
Leonardo da Vinci didn't go around, wasn't the leader of an organization that planted bombs and killed people.
I think the point that we are debating is here, there are people who are refusing to accept that there is a contribution that OR Tambo has made to the life that we live today. And all of us must recognize that. People like OR Tambo and other people. The Mandela always say all the time, former President Mandela says, I was part of a collective. I was not alone in helping you to where you are today. And I think people must begin to appreciate that. And this argument that says because so many black people are poor, we cannot use money to change names. I think it's nonsense. The reality is that we are a nation in making, and we must agree that we must begin to identify things that represent us as a whole, not only, I live in a street called Vervoerd. How can my child live in a street like that?
According to the law, individuals and organized bodies have a constitutional right to apply to have a name changed or reconfirm an existing one. In 2002, the Ekurhuleni municipality proposed to have the Johannesburg International Airport's name changed to OR Tambo International Airport.
The decision was not mine in any case. It was the Metro of Ekurhuleni who made the suggestion and who then piloted the whole process, canvassing opinion in the Metro, placing the matter before council, taking the various steps required by law to move it from a council resolution to a submission to the South African Geographical Names Commission. And then finally, when the Geographical Names Commission then submitted the names to me for my endorsement, it was their decision, and one respected that. One understood also why they thought that that would be a good gesture to make, because Benoni, which is where he lived, is part of that metro, and this was, I suppose, their way of honoring what they considered to be a native son.
Why would you have Johannesburg International Airport in Ekurhuleni as a municipality demarcated as a metro? And we looked for a national uniting name. We are bringing a person which we think really resembles the balance of what you see in Nelson Mandela, because we have this 30 years of outside South Africa of Oliver Tambo. So on my part, I thought we're doing two things. There's the issue of our history, heritage, where we are bringing a person that South Africans were forced not to know.
I think this is a wonderful thing for our country. To have Joburg International named OR Tambo International. He is an outstanding South African, and Oliver Tambo stood out to a tremendous degree as a South African patriot, freedom fighter, leader, who loved our country and who gave his whole life to the freedom of this country and its people.
Born on the 27th of October in 1917, some 5 years after the birth of the ANC, it was apparent from his humble beginnings in Bizana, a small Eastern Cape rural town, that Oliver Reginald Tambo was an achiever. He already then displayed a strong grasp of language and excelled throughout his academic career. From his primary education at the Holy Cross Mission, through his high schooling at St. Peter's College in Johannesburg, onto his years at Fort Hare University, where he obtained his Bachelor of Science degree in 1941, he remained determined and driven. Due to his focus on national liberation politics which consumed him, Oliver Tambo was subsequently expelled from the university and therefore unable to complete his honors degree. He returned to St. Peter's College, this time as a maths and science teacher, where he met his longtime friend, Father Trevor Huddleston.
He was a very good teacher, patient with his students. He was a very friendly person. He did not behave like somebody who was an authority over us.
It was in Johannesburg where he first felt the sting of apartheid. Witnessing the brutality of the political climate at the time propelled him to organize the masses in order to bring about a more just reality. His preparatory years had groomed him for the role he was now to play. OR, as he was affectionately referred to, founded the ANC Youth League in 1944. It was around this time that OR met Nelson Mandela and Walter Sisulu. OR Tambo was instrumental in the ANC Youth League's program of action that transformed a small organization into a powerful campaigning movement that would force the nationalist government to reconsider its grave position through mass action, strikes, and boycotts. Soon after that, OR Tambo established a legal partnership with Nelson Mandela, and their law firm grew to be known as a firm that championed against the evil injustices of the apartheid regime. The Freedom Charter, which captured the people's hopes and dreams for a better tomorrow, was born out of the ANC Youth League. The charter was essentially the people's contract with their pursuit for freedom. Fearing the fruits of such a contract, the government arrested members of the movement, and so began a protracted treason trial. While out on bail and during one of the meetings to discuss the consequences of the trial, Oliver Tambo heard a young Adelaide speak out and was immediately taken by her.
By the time one comes to decide to marry someone and one has studied that person during courtship, and he struck me as being very honest and truthful, and this was very important to me. Besides, we shared our political convictions and we shared our religious convictions.
They later got married and had 3 children, Tembi, Tselani, and Dali. In 1958, OR Tambo became deputy president under Chief Albert Luthuli. After the 1960 Sharpeville massacre, Tambo was designated by the ANC to travel abroad to set up the ANC's international mission and mobilize opposition against the apartheid system from abroad. Back home, other ANC members were arrested and sent to Robben Island. Under OR Tambo's astute leadership, the ANC established missions in 27 countries in as many years. These included Umkhonto weSizwe, as well as missions in all the permanent member states of the United Nations Security Council.
It started with very small routes. Oliver Tambo was sent over in anticipation that the ANC was going to be banned before it was banned. And he started the organizing the ANC in exile. It was a non-organization when he came. He and the others who worked with him built it up into an organization which became the National Liberation Organization known throughout the world.
It was through his vision and leadership that he was able to canvass and orchestrate international support against apartheid.
Oliver Tambo was our main leader in the foreign sphere. Whenever he came to address a meeting in London, he had a huge audience and he had a huge following. He earned respect because of his demeanor, of his capacity. He was a good speaker and he spoke from the heart and everybody felt it. He was an outstanding personality. And he held the movement together in a remarkable way. There were all sorts of difficulties in the movement at different times, divisions between members of the ANC. He was able to keep everybody together under one roof, and I think that was a tremendous achievement for which he really deserves all the credit that the world can heap on him. He was a great figure.
Fellow countrymen, the strength of any organization lies in the caliber of its individual members and units. In order to advance in keeping with the momentum of our struggle, we must improve the quality and expand the quantity of our membership. We need cadres of unquestionable loyalty, dedication, and understanding of our struggle. Let this year see us take big strides in further strengthening the organized underground structures of the ANC. Let it see greater mass political actions in all the provinces and districts of our country. Let it see us extend people's war to all corners of our land. Let it see the fastest and furthest possible coordinated advance on all fronts towards the goal of people's power. There is no going back. Forward always is our battle cry. The enemy cannot stop us. Our future is in our hands.
He was fiercely and tirelessly dedicated to the cause, even at the expense of his general well-being and health. This same dedication to the struggle would trigger a series of strokes, but this did not deter him from fighting for freedom to the very end. The Harare Declaration was of paramount importance to OR. It was a drum-up of frontline states' support in order to begin negotiations with the apartheid regime. This was the first opportunity at reaching a peaceful settlement inside South Africa. Through the armed struggle and having made the country ungovernable, the Harare Declaration marked a shift in political strategy for the ANC.
If our conviction is not misplaced and misdirected, here we are witnessing in Harare the beginning of the end of the apartheid system, provided that the struggle is not left to Zambia and Zimbabwe, the frontline states, Africa and the non-aligned movement, but that all those peoples in the world who have genuinely expressed hatred of this system, who have been outraged by the crime against humanity, will not hold back, but will join in now, so that there is one mass international drive to end apartheid once and for all.
Not wanting to slow down the liberation effort that he had taken responsibility for, Oliver Tambo kept up a gruesome pace despite advice from his doctors. Upon returning from presenting the Harare Declaration on the 9th of August 1989, he suffered a second and near-fatal stroke. Oliver Tambo left the country as an idealistic young man on a determined mission. He returned with the lived wisdom of the 30 years in exile clearly legible on his face. On his return home, he passed through the frontline states which had become his exiled home away from home, and had also for many long decades sheltered many freedom fighters from the apartheid storm. Leaving his home in exile to return to his birthplace must have been a bittersweet experience for the aging Tambo. Little did we know then in 1990 at Jan Smuts Airport that after 30 years of exile, Oliver Tambo would one day land and send off the world in his own name. When he finally arrived in South Africa, he received a hero's welcome.
I never actually talked to him about his feelings on coming home. But I would say the important thing about his coming home was that he didn't, sort of want to take a back seat.
People who live full and complete lives do not turn in their graves. OR died content and with a sense of great achievement. He remained selfless to the grave. It is upon this lofty legacy that the current government is attempting to rebuild this new nation. A part of reclaiming and reaffirming ourselves as Africans constitutes the building blocks for the future, and of which the renaming of Johannesburg International to OR Tambo International Airport is a significant milestone.
When someone comes to a country like South Africa or elsewhere and puts the name Stutterheim on a place, or worse, Berlin or London, right? What are they in fact saying? Right? They are saying this place is nothing. It is, this country is nothing. We are remaking it. We are making this Stutterheim. Right? This is now a piece of Germany. Right? This is now a piece of Britain, where we are changing, for example, place names, and where, like for Johannesburg International Airport, it's also an act of affirmation. Right? It is affirming the African identity of the place. This is not a part of England or part of Germany or a part of France. It isn't. This is Africa. Right? We give it an African name to affirm its African identity. We are not little pieces of Europe across the sea. We are not overseas provinces of someone else's country. We are an African country, and we are affirming our African identity.
It is therefore fitting that a man who was lowly and humble in life would be elevated and celebrated in death. It is further fitting that the name of this great son of the soil be hoisted up on the wings of destiny.
I think that is one of the greatest leaders, shall I say, that I've ever had the privilege to know. I was his great admirer, from very early ages. He was a man of great intellect and a realist as well.
What do you think, if he had a choice, would he do it all over again?
I think 1,000,000 times all over again. He could have sold out at any time. He was very popular. But like our son Tabo, like our sons Isop, Aziz, Palo, and all the others that went through the meal and hardships of being in exile, they would all do it 100 times over again.